Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Test. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Test, 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 1, 2, 3. Test, 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 1, 2, 3. Test, 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 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. Test, 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 1, 2, 3, test, test, 1, 2, 3. Test, 1, 2, 3, test, test, 1, 2, 3.
We're just gonna wait a few more minutes. We're just gonna make sure we can get everybody in through the doors and get signed in and everything. So bear with us. Just give us like 5-10 more minutes, okay? Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started now. I think mostly everybody's in. Good evening. Welcome to the Sarpy County Joint Public Hearing. It's Thursday, September 21st, 2023. It is now 6:36 p.m. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located at the table here if you would like to read it. Please silence all cell phones and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry about that, guys. My name is Megan, and I will be the facilitator for this hearing. Property tax request presentations with the public are the only items on today's agenda. The purpose of this hearing is not to discuss property valuation or anything else. There were already opportunities to protest or discuss property valuations. The hearing audio is being broadcasted live on sarpy.gov. We want to thank the Bellevue East Public School for allowing us to utilize this facility. Sarpy County and Bellevue East IT support team, Sarpy County Sheriff's deputies, and Chief Deputy County Clerk and staff for organizing the hearing. Welcome to the entities and their representatives presenting tonight. The designated representative for each political subdivision shall give a brief presentation on the intent to increase its property tax request by more than the allowable growth percentage and the effect of such request on their budget. We will hear from the cities of Bellevue and Gretna, Bellevue Public Schools, and Sarpy County. Each representative will be given up to 10 minutes to present, and we ask each representative to introduce themselves to the audience. Everyone attending this joint hearing, including elected officials, must sign the attendance sign-in sheet located by the entrance to the room. The county clerk is required by statute to prepare a report which includes the number of individuals who attended the joint public hearing. After all presentations are complete, we will take a 10-minute intermission and then call for public comments. Please sign in to speak at the entrance table if you wish to do so. You will be called up to the microphone and we ask you state your name, address, and entity if you are representing any. Everyone will get up to 3 minutes to make comments. As no individual questions will be answered, we encourage anyone with questions to contact your specific representative after the hearing. Like any public hearing or gathering, thank you for participating with civility and respect for everyone attending this hearing. If there are any disruptions from the audience during the meeting, you may be asked to leave. Let me introduce you our first representative, Rusty Hike from City of Bellevue.
Hello, I am Rusty Hike, Mayor of Bellevue, working on my 5th year here. Waiting for my presentation. I know we need to be brief, but I also want to be very particular on my information so the public understands it. So I may take a little extra time to explain some of that. Thank you. So representing the City of Bellevue and our 2023-24 budget. So this is the official tax request, property tax request by the City of Bellevue. And I'm going to read these just so you know what this says. I'm sure you can't read it. The Bellevue Board, the governing board of the following political subdivision intends to adopt a 2023 property tax request which exceeds the Property Tax Request Act's allowable growth percentage. Therefore, our political subdivision will be required to participate in the joint public hearing and postcard notification requirements of the Property Tax Request Act. And this is all pursuant to Nebraska Revised Statute 77-1633. We're providing the following information, which would be the entity, political subdivision, the City of Bellevue, our contact information, the city's telephone number, 402-293-3000, proposed 2023 property tax request. The total amount is $34,414,880.46. And that was signed by our administrator, Jim Risto. So the postcard that was referred here is the postcard that you should have received in the mail, stating which entities are representative of you at your address. You have the county levy. I know the county's here as well. Bellevue Public Schools, of course. Bellevue City, and then Gretna's here as well. And then that gives you the location, and that's why you're here right now. So you obviously found it. So the one on the right, this is the required information that we're required to provide to the state, and then provide here 5 days before our time comes to vote it in at the city council meeting on Tuesday the 26th. Council still has to approve it. As seen in Table 1 below, the City of Bellevue's budget is increasing for the 2023-24 fiscal year by 42%, and the property tax request is increasing by 14%, the same rate as valuations increased. The tax rate stayed at 61 cents per $100 of valuation. These increases are necessary because of the continuing foundational improvements being made in the city. I'll go over Table 1. And then Table 2 lists the planned spending on areas this administration feels is in our best interest of Bellevue. So Table 1, we're going to compare the 22 budget to the 23. The operating budget in 2022 for Bellevue was $109,488. $109,488,361.04. In 2023, we're requesting $155,630,091.96. That's a 42% change over last year. Property tax request. This is just, there's other forms of income coming into the city. You got your sales tax and other items, but this is strictly a property tax request. In 2022, we requested $30,290,374.03. 2023, we are requesting $34,414,880.46. That's a 14% increase, as I stated. Some of these are redundant, but that's on purpose, just so we make sure we get the right information out there. Valuation in Bellevue in 2022 was or the valuation was $4,965,635,435,087. The valuation in 2023 increased to $5,641,783,683. Again, that's a valuation increase of 14%, same as the property tax request increase. The tax rate, mill levy, is 0.61 in 2022. The mill levy remained the same, 0.61 in 2023. So the tax rate, if the prior tax request was at the current valuation, would be 0.536894. So a breakdown of the property tax, personal and real property tax required for non-bond purposes is $26,516,383.31. The personal and real property tax required for bonds is $7,898,497.15. Total 2023 property tax request is the $34,414,880.46. So the big difference, our operational cost for the city stayed underneath the inflation rates. That's not where this cost is coming from. It's coming from capital improvements. The city of Bellevue has put off probably for a couple decades anyway, just spending some money on some of the infrastructure. It's for new development that is coming to our south side of Bellevue. So there's a lot of needed capital improvements. That breakdown for economic development is $18,750,000. Culture and education, I'll break these down a little bit more on the next page. Culture and education is $8,850,000. Parks and recreation, $3,585,000. Street improvements, $28,711,000. Wastewater, $4,685,000. Public safety, $985,000. And infrastructure is $7,008,000 for a total of $72,574,000. So this page on the left is, this is a little bit more of a breakdown on what those capital expenses are and what they're for. So the economic development, we have an $18 million water main planned for bringing water down the Highway 34 corridor. This corridor is going to be Bellevue's next economic engine to bring in a lot more tax base, which eventually will get to reducing the burden that's on our residents. Bellevue has been a bedroom type community for a long time, and they've never really planned for industrial development and the things that we can help pay for those property taxes on. So LB 840 infrastructure improvements are $750,000. Culture, the $8,850,000. Entertainment district, that is also going on the Highway 34 corridor. I know if some of you have paid attention, and we're in the works trying to put up a water park natatorium as well with indoor-outdoor facility and deep diving wells for competitions and Olympic-sized pool. All that's inside. That'll get us started and get the engineering and hopefully get that underway, which we're hoping to kick that off in the spring, full blast. American Heroes Park, amphitheater, we have about a $13 million plan going forward for American Heroes Park. The first part of that is an amphitheater, and this year we've got $650,000 of that $13 million budgeted. And of course the library renovation project at $3,200,000. So we're remodeling a building that we were able to purchase. That building actually will end up paying for itself over time. It has tenants in the remaining parts. Parks and Recreation, $3,585,000. New playground equipment and shelter at Everett Park. And then Swanson restroom at Stonecroft. We also need to replace the restroom building in Washington Park. So that's $2,050,000 for the first item, $250,000 for the Washington Park restroom. The bike hike trail renovations, Banner Park and College Heights Ball Field. Light fixtures, $200,000. Hayworth Park drainage ditch, engineering construction, $700,000. Vehicles and equipment, $60,000. Street improvements. South 36th Street, Sheridan to Platteview, $4,500,000. I know you've seen the new improvements from Highway 370 to Sheridan, and that is quite a big improvement for Bellevue. It allows our traffic to actually get to Bellevue. All other street improvements, $23,236,000. Equipment for street department, $975,000. Wastewater is $4,685,000. South Bellevue sanitary improvements, Mission Street is $1,200,000. Some of our infrastructure, a lot of our infrastructure, I should say, is crumbling. Our sewer systems, in some places, there is no pipe left. It's actually running through clay. So these items have been, they haven't been left alone for the last 5, 10 years. We're talking 10, 20, 30 years. These are infrastructure projects that need to be done. Hayworth and American Heroes Park sanitary improvements, $1,400,000. All other improvements, $2,085,000. Public safety, police, fire, command post, $600,000, and other safety equipment, $385,000. Infrastructure, $7,008,000. Public works maintenance facility, 2019, we lost our south shop due to the flood down there. We still have not replaced that. They are working out of the yard. They don't really have any buildings that are safe to go into and use. So we need to address that. And some of these numbers actually are offset. So that's $5,800,000. I know we have about $1 million that just came in from FEMA for insurance for that flood. But so these are not all direct costs. A lot of these costs are cost sharing, some cost sharing on roads and so forth. All other equipment improvements, $1,208,000. I just want to take a second to, I want to thank the public. All these items are not what I made up or my administration made up or even the council made up. There's a lot of input from the public. We work really well with the county. We're going through the South Sarpy sewer system. Got a great partnership there, and everybody's working really well together to save money and yet get the infrastructure we need. I want to thank the public, like the parks plan. We had a lot of public input on where people wanted certain things and what they wanted. The library, we had some public charrettes where the public came out and gave their input on that, as well as roads. So over the last year, 2 years, 5 years, the public has been very involved, and I want to thank everyone that gives their time, because it's very important to us that we get it right. This money we're spending is everybody's tax money, and we don't want to waste it. And I think by us keeping our operational expenses in check and just attacking this investment in Bellevue for the future, I think we've got a good plan going forward. So Exhibit A there, City of Bellevue's presentation regarding its intent to increase its property tax request by more than the allowable growth percentage. That's why we're here. We have to present that at a public meeting. Again, name of the political subdivision, City of Bellevue. The amount of the property tax request is $34,414,880.46. The total assessed value of property differs from last year's total assessed value by 13.62%. That's a little bit lower than that 14%. We'll get into that in a second. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 0.536894 per $100 of assessed valuation. City of Bellevue proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 0.61 per $100 of assessed value. And again, that's the mill levy that's, I think it's stayed, we've stayed at the same mill levy at least the last 6 or 7 years. Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget of the City of Bellevue will exceed last year's by 42.14%. To obtain more information regarding the increase in the property tax request, citizens may contact the City of Bellevue at 402-293-3000 and info@bellevue.net. And I also want to make sure you know, Bellevue.net, there's a wealth of information on there. So you'll find all this information. You'll find some more detailed information on those projects, the capital improvement projects that I just talked about. So please do visit Bellevue.net. It's on the first page under quick links and then also right there on the home page. We really want those calls. If you have questions, we want you to call your city council representative, call me, call the administration. This LB 644 that put this notification in process, I have a lot of mixed reservations on it. It doesn't give you a lot of time, but we want you to be in touch throughout the entire year, in touch whether it's with your council members, myself, or the administration, or playing part in those charrettes with the public and trying to figure out what we're going to spend the money on and what people want. So the 2023-24 allowable growth percentage computation form, this is the form that LB 644, and I know LB 644 has been amended, so I don't know what that number is offhand. This is the form that the state senators came forth and said nobody can have more than 2% growth. You can have the full amount of your real growth, which is that $500 million number. So that's the 0.99. So the base limitation percentage increase, what the state, the prior year total property tax requested was $30,290,374.03. So the base limitation the state gives us is 2% that we can grow. Our real growth, the 2023 real growth value per the Sarpy County Assessor, they figure all this out, is $48,537,115. Prior year total real property valuation per assessor was $4,887,359. Sorry, the light's shining right in my face. $4,887,369,422. So that's a growth of 0.99% in real growth. So that's how much the city gained in their real valuation, their property valuation. So you add those together, it's 2.99%. Allowable dollar amount of increase to property tax request, line 1 times line 4, is $905,682.18. Total base property tax request, state authority is $31,196,056.21. So the actual property tax request, 2023-24, from the City of Bellevue is $34,414,880.46, which did exceed the 2.99%. So that's what brings us here, and that's what the state wants us to disclose. Albeit, I think, a little bit too late because it's so deep into the process that input really needs to come from the citizens and come from people working on these projects, a year ahead of time. So the ordinance number 4127 is the ordinance that will be voted on Tuesday, the 26th. And that's what allows us to set the tax. And the resolution number 2023-24 is the resolution that the city council will vote on Tuesday evening, which there will be a public hearing to that as well. There was a public hearing last week, an open public hearing as well. So this resolution will set that total property tax request, if the council votes on it in the affirmative, at $34,414,880.46, which again is a 14% increase. Had we based it on last year's tax rate, or last year's valuation, the tax rate would have stayed at 50.536894 per $100,000. We left the mill levy at the 0.61, and it increases the budget over last year by 42%. So that is all I have, and I think I've met my legal requirement, and I appreciate your time, and thank you for coming out.
Good evening. My name is Paula Dennison. I'm representing the city of Gretna, Nebraska. Gretna's fiscal year budget for 2023 is carefully constructed to meet the needs of our growing community while continuing to provide the expected levels of service to Gretna's expanded footprint. This budget reflects city leaders' continued approach to balancing the strains associated with growth, aging and expanding infrastructure, and the desire to add to our quality of life amenities, both to meet expectations and to attract others to our community. The effects of the recent annexation created a 90% increase in our population, 198% increase in the corporate limits area, and 94.7% increase in our jurisdictional area. These increases affected the city's manpower, equipment, and facilities that have been designed to serve a much smaller footprint. The proposed fiscal year spending plan maintains the same municipal tax levy with the high level of service to which Gretna property owners are accustomed. It includes an expanded level of service to accommodate the continued growth, the opening of a community park, and the addition of a full-time paid emergency and fire personnel. These changes create the need for funding for the fire department, hiring of additional city staff and equipment, improvements and repair to our streets, sewer, and water systems. As a result of our fiduciary responsibilities, the 2023 to 2024 property tax request is proposed at $6,037,685. The total assessed value of property differs from last year's total assessed value by 5.8081%. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property tax as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 0.401889 per $100 of assessed value. The City of Gretna proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause this tax rate to be 0.45468 per $100 of assessed value, the same steady rate as last year. And based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenues, the total operating budget for the City of Gretna will decrease from last year's budget by 34%. To obtain more information regarding the increase in property tax request, citizens may contact the City of Gretna at 402-332-3336, by email at cityclerk@cityofgretna.com, or you can see the Gretna Mayor's news piece at gretnane.org. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Susan Brooks, the Director of Finance at Bellevue Public Schools. The 2023-24 proposed budget for the Bellevue Public Schools is $129,909,814 in the general fund and $6,119,648 in the bond fund. The total across both funds of $136,029,462 is a 1% decrease from the prior year budget. We highlight these two funds because they do require local taxation. In Bellevue Public Schools, annual spending in the general fund has increased an average of 2.6% each year over the last 10 years. At the same time, federal impact aid funding decreased by $10 million. Impact aid funding is what we receive to offset the large amount of untaxable federal property that exists within the district. Over the past 6 years, we have had to draw about $3 million annually from our cash reserves to maintain the annual budget. Cash reserve is now at a critical low point for BPS. Cash reserve is what ensures that we can pay our bills each month. Expected funding for the 2023-24 school year is represented here. State aid and special education funding make up about 50% of the pie. 8% will come from federal receipts. Last year, that number was 18%. In 23-24, 36% must come from local taxes. Last year, our taxpayers supported 32% of the budget. I'm sorry. The proposed property tax request to fund the 23-24 budget is $47,172,809 in the general fund and $5,543,152 in the bond fund, for a total tax request of $52,715,961. The overall increase in taxing is 11.5%. Only taxpayers who have had a valuation increase will pay more tax, since BPS is actually decreasing the total levy from $1.20 to $1.17. These pieces are required by federal law, so I'm going to go ahead and read them. The property tax rate, when levying the same amount of property taxes as last year, would be $1.42 per 100 of a tax assessed value. As I mentioned, Bellevue's proposed tax levy for 23-24 is $1.17, which is a 3-cent decrease from the prior year. And also, as I already mentioned, the total operating budget of Bellevue Public Schools will decrease 1% overall. That's a 1% decrease in the general fund and a 10% increase in the bond fund, but overall still a 1% decrease overall, or a decrease of $1.1 million. Here's my contact info. We do want your questions. Feel free to call or contact either myself or Dr. Rippey. Also, all of our budget and tax hearing presentations exist on our website attached to the board minutes, so they're there for your viewing. Thank you.
It's nice to go last. It gives you the ability to read the room. I'm going to set my timer. I promise you, I will not go over. My name's Dan Horns. Boy, those lights are bright. I'm the Sarpy County Administrator. I've been the administrator for about 6 years. Prior to that, I had a 23-year career working for the city of Papillion, so I've been around. My goal this evening, and the purpose of this becomes obvious to me. You didn't come to listen to me. We should be here to listen to you. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Thank you. I said the goal tonight is not for you to listen to us. It's for us to listen to you. I prepared 7 slides. You're not getting all 7. You're going to get 2. The mandatory state requirement and what that means to you as a homeowner in Sarpy County. And again, it's required. Do we have is it right? This is what's mandated, folks. So Sarpy's budget's not on this slide, was $289 million last year. It's $272 million this year, primarily because we had a lot of capital projects. You see the new jail, the roads, the sewer system going in. We finished those. Full transparency, our operating budget's going up 10%, 9%, I think, to keep things going. So full transparency. I'm going to meet my state requirements. The amount of the property tax request in Sarpy County is $70,759,500. The total assessed value of property differs from last year's total assessed value by 14.6%. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes last year when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 0.248748 per $100 assessed value. Sarpy County proposes to adopt a budget property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 0.28496, that's the same, of 100 assessed value. Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget of Sarpy County actually will be lower by 6%. And I'm going to say this, get to my house, the last slide. I promised a bunch of stuff. This is the most important one for me and I think for you. If your valuation went up and we didn't lower the levy, you're going to pay more in property tax. I'm not hiding behind that. I want to hear from you tonight. I will stay till the end of this session and talk and answer any specific questions. You are more than welcome to call me and I can connect you with the local county commissioner to talk about this, but I think after I talk just another minute here, there are 70,000 plus or minus homes in Sarpy County. The average value is $280,000. So if we take that rate, the county portion of that bill is $798.23 based on the proposed levy. That is $79 more for the year on that $281,000 house. And so I don't think I need to say anything else. I'm going to stop, and I really, again, I'll stay here. I can connect you with your commissioner, but I'd like to get on with the most important part of the evening, and that's hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay, so this concludes our first half of tonight's joint public hearing. We'll take a 10-minute intercession and then restart at about 7:25, and we'll get back to the comments from all of you guys. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome back to the second half of tonight's joint public hearing. It is now 7:26. Remember, if you want to comment, you will have to sign in. You can sign in at the table just outside the doors, or we have extra sign-in sheets down there by Chris. Chris is going to call up 6 people at a time, and then if you will make your way over to the front row, over by her on my left-hand side, on the right side of the stage, she'll get you guys all squared away. So I'll let her take over. Comments only.
The first speaker is Kyle Roan. Second, Steve Dawes, Connie O'Brien, Sandy Jones. We'll start with them.
That's okay, man. That's okay. Hey Siri, set timer for 3 minutes. You tell me when I'm ready, or when you're ready. Can I start? Okay. Good afternoon, fellow citizens. How are y'all doing tonight? Good. I'm doing groovy. I'm going to stay within my time limit, and I want to laud Sarpy County Bellevue Public Schools and the city of Gretna for staying within their time and for making reasonable proposals. So by the numbers, y'all can take these down. I will be very brief with the numbers. 13.7% is the percentage of our property taxes will rise, okay? 42% is the percentage of increase in the city of Bellevue's budget. I consider that obscene. 25% is the percentage of increase in debt the city of Bellevue has carried in the last 5 years. Now let me explain that. When I moved here in 2017, the city of Bellevue had a $55 million debt they were paying on. Today, that debt is $69,185,000. Let that sink in for a minute. 5.9% is the actual increase in home values according to the Zillow website. Now, you can look at different websites, and you know they say figures don't lie, but liars figure. Depends on which website you go to, but Zillow was 5.9, and then you had them a little higher and you had them a little lower. 3.9% is the consumer price index according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That is the cost of goods and services to us, citizens, and that's over the last year according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The G7 says our annual inflation rate is 4%. So I go back to a 42% increase in City of Bellevue's budget is obscene, absolutely gross. What we say here tonight will have little consequence, especially in the City of Bellevue. They don't care. It'll go in one ear and out the other. The final 2024 budget, get this, the final, they were going to vote on it Tuesday night, past Tuesday night. They were going to vote on it. It was on the agenda. That was their plan. When I showed up to that public hearing, the first thing out of the alderman's mouth were, Mr. Roan, we're not talking about the budget tonight. Okay? So they had it on their agenda. Just keep that in mind. They had to have this meeting before they voted final on it. So that just lets you know. As a matter of fact, during that meeting, the city council voted to spend money from that unapproved budget. Now, I agreed with what they spent it on, but they spent the money in an unapproved budget. In the state of Arkansas, which is where I got my master's degree in public administration, that was illegal. The State of Nebraska, they got a little wiggle room in that. So I'm almost done. So why are we here tonight? So why are the people we elected to represent our interest can check a box? That's all we're here for. They're not listening to us. They could care less what we have to say unless we donate money to their campaign, and it has to be a lot of money. Free speech, this is Thomas Jefferson. Free speech makes representatives accountable to we the people. When our elected officials abuse their power or usurp the power of citizens and deny the inalienable right of free speech, they call that tyranny. Ladies and gentlemen, those that practice that are considered tyrants. My fellow citizens, we have tyrants among us tonight. When any government, federal, state, county, or local, outspends its resources relying on indebtedness to provide for wants is a tantamount to slavery. The debt they caused and we allowed, I'm going to put responsibility on the citizens, we allowed it. It enslaves us, it enslaves our children, and it enslaves our grandchildren. My fellow citizens, it's time for nonviolent revolution against the tyrants who would enslave us, our future, and again, without violence, but with activism, challenging them at every turn, exercising our responsibilities as citizens to hold them accountable. Amen. Thank you.
Steve Dawes.
Actually, I don't have anything prepared, and I've had my questions answered for this evening, so I yield my time.
Good grief. I'm going to address my remarks to, well, it was fine, to the table as opposed to you all. I'd like to personalize this a little bit. I am a Bellevue, I went to elementary school in Bellevue, I went to middle school in Bellevue, I graduated from Bellevue High School, some of you may know me. I taught in Bellevue for many years. I moved to Council Bluffs, had a wonderful career there for a while, and I ran Aim for the Stars Science Camp at UNO as the director for many years. I am well educated. I am not rich. I did not retire with a slush fund in my pocket. I simply retired. I would like to suggest three things. One is that the busing or the business. I would like to also mention before I go on that I think the school district is well-run and does fine. Again, it costs too much, we know that, but we want the best for our kids, that's the way it is. The second thing is you talk about spending money on, millions of dollars on bathrooms, parks, etc. I believe in the comparison of importance, our infrastructure, sewers, would be far better addressed, and drop those other things, and then you might be under the 2.2 that you're supposed to be at. And I would like to mention one other thing. I have money saved for the next 2 years, property taxes. That's it. I have no income, although I do sub, and I do like that, in Bellevue. It does not pay me enough to save for my property taxes. And so in order for me to keep my property for my children, I will probably have to sell it and go back to Council Bluffs, which is fine, it's a lovely place. But I love my home, and I don't have the money for this fiddly-faddly around on entertainment if the infrastructure needs work. Finish it. Amen.
I'm going to direct this also at you guys, because I don't see the city council here, and they're the ones doing the voting, not you guys. I mean, what really can be presented to stop this 42% hike? What can be done, or nothing? Why are we speaking here just because we're here? I mean, and you had to do it? You know, the law says you had to do this meeting. Is there going to be anything that we can do? I'm retired. Just like her, I had money set aside. I'm not going to be able to do that. Mine was to be 73 and then take my 401 and start using it where my income would be lower. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm going to have to pull it out sooner, pay more taxes because I'm pulling it out sooner. And, you know, my insurance goes up every year because of my evaluation goes up. It went up $1,000 from last year to this year. I mean, this is ridiculous. And as you can see in this building here, you have a lot of senior citizens. And I congratulate the young people that are here, because this is going to affect them too. You cannot buy a house and do this on one income. I mean, this is taking them away from their children, everything. Everybody's got to work more. I mean, I'm just waiting to when I can work without it affecting my income for my homestead exemption. So we're here checking all of our little boxes that you guys all seem to forget about, of how we planned, and I'm sure you've planned for your retirement. You know, how are you doing with that? Your income probably goes up. Ours don't at all. I mean, come on. We all need to be at that meeting on Tuesday. Those doors need to be flooding out, not like this. Not like this. This is awful that just us few people are here. When you have how many people in this county? Can anybody give me that answer? 90,000. 190,000, worse. And this is all who showed up to give a crap. I mean, I'm just floored at how you guys can do this. I've dealt with you before when you took my cabin away from me. You know, and how it took, and you guys were bankrupt then, and it took us 4 years to get our money back because you were bankrupt then. I didn't know you were still bankrupt, or whatever it is, in debt, this much money, and it keeps going up. You know, come on, people, let's do something. Do you have parents that live here? Do you have children that live here? And I mean, you're supposed to take this on to the city council, right? I mean, because you guys aren't the ones voting, am I right? Are any of you voting? Oh. That is so sad. Why are we here? I mean, really. Can anybody answer my question, what we can do to stop this besides flooding Tuesday night? Is it not going to do any good? This was just our last draw to appease you guys not going to jail, or what?
I'm going to have everybody that I call, please come up to the front row and take a seat, or one of the seats around here. Ed Yoakum, David Stevers, Fran Memster, Nikki Begeman, Barb Belt,
Good evening, folks. I'm from Papaya. I'm a small ditch digging contractor. I received these same letters as you got. So 3 out of my 4 were reasonable. The one was a little high, I thought. On the 4th one, I have a storage lot in downtown Papayan. I parked the equipment there that I own, and the storage lot has a easement on it to the city of Omaha. Now, I parked some tractors there and so on, but I can't do anything other than a lemonade stand on because the city of Omaha has an easement. Now, they, you know, you wouldn't want them on your lot, but they were there when I didn't realize how long they were or how big it was, because it's a pie-shaped piece and numerous things, you know what I mean, on the situation. So, and like I said, with the city of Omaha going through the center of it with 100-foot wide, don't give me much room. Everybody wants to buy it or use or build there, but when they find out where the easement is, they run. So I don't know, in taking, would you say, people that know what it is, or it's not very valuable. And the city of Omaha is, I don't know if they pick up any of the tab or anything like that on this lot. It's pretty hard to figure out. So that's the scoop. Thank you for all coming, folks.
Good evening. So I'm not here just because you're raising taxes. You're raising taxes by above the allowable limit. 10, 11, 14%, an operating budget of 40%. My salary didn't go up by 40%. My household budget didn't go up by 40%. In what world is that reasonable spending? This city, this county, this country needs to get back to fiscal responsibility. How about not spending money you don't have? Setting a reasonable budget. I know things cost money. The value of my house didn't go up 11%. You're talking about assessed values. You're talking about me getting money back by developing an entertainment district. I see more people leaving to avoid these taxes. What statistic did I see? Top 10%, number 4 by percentage in the country of tax rate. You're driving more people away. That's why you have to keep raising these things. Papillion citizens aren't here, La Vista isn't, because they had to raise it, but they didn't want to go above the allowable limit. I understand. I'm here to provide for my family. I escaped New York to come to Nebraska just to find New York taxes in the Midwest. How is that building a better future for my family? I feel like I've taken a step backwards. Western New York, that's what you guys have turned this into. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hi, Rusty. Haven't seen you since you were a DJ celebrating your little bonus and your Christmas party, talking about how you're stayed on budget of which you increased over 42% last year. And let me tell you, our property taxes have gone up 55% since 2017. 55%. I don't think I'll ever get to retire. But you know what? I see that you probably don't because you don't visit these places, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, whatever. I see more and more of folks my age in the drive-thru because they had to go back to work to pay for the taxes that you all keep doing. And the reason that the city council is not here tonight is because they boo-hooed. They said, oh, we were mean to them last time when we said our say, because we actually have a say, because let me see, what was that word he used? Oh, you were required to do this. You know, it'd be nice if you're out there and you're talking and you're actually doing something. You're building all these apartment complexes, but what businesses are you bringing in? Yes, it's nice to have a cafe, but we got a Ross, but there's nothing else. And all we have to worry about is how many kids are going to be out at night. Oh, by the way, sorry, officers, you do a great job, and I am very happy you're here. Let me tell you. School board, great job. I'm not sure, but you know what even makes me madder is I didn't see anything on your little chart that Fastwire, don't even get me started on them, gave us to put their fiber in. What about the Google that you're putting in next year? What are they giving the city of Bellevue for running their fiber? Oh, and I want to know who's in charge of the streets, because I came home today and I don't know who's in charge of the city and the sidewalks, but when you took my sidewalk out and you put the sidewalk in, somebody obviously missed how to put a sidewalk in straight, because you put it 5 feet of my property that you didn't even talk to me about, and I am livid over that. 5 feet, you took out a perfectly good sidewalk, and I understand you gotta be ADA compliant, and that's good, but you went up to that stupid ugly box in the middle of my frickin' yard, and I can't wait till Snowplow Man hits that Fastwire, because it's stupid. The subcontractors can't even help. They have to have it, somebody come over and talk English, which I'm not above because I'm Hispanic myself and I can speak the language, but a lot of people can't. But the people need to understand what they're doing. And I am so upset that you allowed this to happen. You allowed this to happen, not you, because you had nothing to do with it in the city of Gretna. But 5 feet of my property is now gone, and nobody bothered to come and talk to me about it. 5 feet that we have taken care of that property since we've been here since 2009. I am really angry over that. And let me tell you, once I find out who's important, they're going to hear about it. I am so sick of it. Somebody needs to be held accountable for the budget, and that's it. Stay to the 2.2.
To the lady in the white, I agree. I don't know why we're here either. Basically, it's the 2021 Truth in Taxation Law that forces them to have the public meeting. Oh, it's the 2021 Truth in Taxation Law that requires them to be here. However, it doesn't require them to do anything about what we say. Yeah, exactly. So what's the point of us being here? I'm not sure. In the agenda that they didn't print for us, there's a 41-page agenda online. It's the same presentation that was up there that nobody could read. I did find it online and print it beforehand. There's a couple things that I want to point out. On page 9, the reason why I think that nothing is going to come of this meeting is that on page 9, there's a Property Tax Request Act. It states, the governing board intends to adopt a 2023 property tax request. Intends to adopt. There's no may adopt. It intends to adopt. On page 11, it states, the City of Bellevue's budget is increasing for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. There's no may increase. It says is increasing. On page 15, it states, the ordinance number 4127, the budget is hereby approved on October 1st, 2023. It's a page, the paperwork is already here, ready to be signed, passed and approved. It's even dated for next Tuesday, the 26th. That he said, it's ready for a vote on City Council. And if that's not true, if it's not ready to be passed, then there should have been a discussion of a contingency plan. There was nothing said about that. So, is there really going to be anything done? My personal experience, I've been a homeowner in Bellevue for 30 years. I did my first protest last year. It was denied among a lot of other people. And what I'm seeing is that they're pricing people out of their homes. Who's going to buy those homes? Well, it's the big corporations who are going to come in, swoop in, and buy those homes and then rent them back to us at higher prices. That is not the type of city that I want to live in. The historical patterns that I've seen Sarpy County do over the past 30 years of home ownership, 1 year, they will increase the assessed value. The following year, they will increase the tax rates. It's almost a one-to-one. If I look back at patterns, you're becoming very predictable. And it's sad. So if you look at what's happening, valuations are increased. Inflation is through the roof. It's 8, 9, 10%, even higher if you increase. It's even higher if you add in fuel and food. Incomes have declined per Statistica. Let's see, what else? It's just not sustainable. So all of those together, it's really an unethical taxation. Last year we had record increased in assessed values. And what the Sarpy County rep did say to us was that does increase the amount of revenue that they receive because our taxes are paid per $100 of assessed value. So they increased the assessed value, they increased the revenue. So they do not need to increase our tax rates, but they do. So that gives them a bigger bang for their buck. Oh, am I out of time? They continue to do that. I have a couple more things to say about Bellevue Public Schools. The district enrollment has been down since 2028, nearly 400 students per year. And this is per their website, but their spending has increased. Their in-session days have been down. Their in-session days are only about 80 to 83% the past 2 years that I've tracked it. They've received almost $10 million in COVID funds. And these COVID funds are very flexible in what they spend them on. And I had to pay for that information, so it's information that they don't want out there. And they're done spending the bond fund, the $76 million bond fund. That was done last year in 2022. So is this the real reason behind why they need more tax money? And that's all I have to say.
Pam Johnson, Medatkovich, Sam Miner, Susan Jones, Raymond Geist, Michael Orr, Timothy Millard, Tim Schulte, Ryan Hofstetter, and Allie Hofstetter. You guys can just take a seat anywhere here. We'll start with,
First off, I want to say I apologize for having my back to you, but I really want to address the city of Bellevue, Bellevue Public Schools, and Sarpy County. As a full-time resident who came to Nebraska in my 20s, and I lived in multiple suburbs of Nebraska, Papillion, La Vista, and now Bellevue, and I had been employed full-time at many skilled jobs, and for various reasons had to change and adapt because of budget cuts or conversions or whatever the different reasons were that employment for the military as well as for ordinary citizens had been cut. So I've had fluctuating income and had to start over from each one of them, probably like many others. But now I've owned a home and have been owning this current home for at least 20 years. And I have no replenishing income. I have unemployment, not by choice. And it's a choice of buying meds or food or providing to keep the lights on. Any increase can severely impact not only my household, but as expressed by many others. Bottom line, I understand that there's progress, improvements, but I don't want to understand or experience homelessness.
This comment is directed to Ms. Brooks. prior to the pandemic, Bellevue Public Schools received $9,976,463 for COVID relief, and that amounted to $1,030. Can you tell me what happened to that money? Thank you.
Sorry, what'd you say? Speak on the mic.
She won't answer.
My comments are strictly for the Bellevue Public Schools. You guys got millions of dollars on the school bond fund. You got millions of dollars from COVID. You got millions of dollars on the increase last year for proposed taxes. Now you're asking for millions again this year. What are you guys doing with all that money? You're the finance officer. You don't know? You just write checks or what? Okay, no problem, no problem. That's fine. I'm sorry I asked that question. Didn't want to embarrass anybody. So, you know, you got all these different entities, 4 of them here on tax increases. Once again, Bellevue Public Schools makes up the majority, or half. The other 3 are the same amount of money. So I don't know what the school's doing with all this money, but I think somebody's enjoying some pretty good vacations.
I'm Sue Jones. For the record, there are 2 city council members here at least tonight, so they are caring. My question, or my statement is, there needs to be something done about how they assess the properties. Just because somebody bought a house next to me or a couple miles away for fairly cheap and flip it and sell it for a 40–50% increase, why should my taxes or my value go up? I have not put that much into my house. I'm a single mom of 2 grown children. I've worked 2 jobs for 16 years. I finally got down to 1 job, looking at retirement anytime as of next month, but I can't retire because the taxes keep going up, because they're valuing my home at $100,000 more than when I bought it 29 years ago. I bought it for less than $52,000. They're now valuing it at $150,000, and I've only put maybe $20,000 into my house in those 29 years. The assessments there has to be a different way to value the assessments. If I didn't put that $50,000 into a house to sell it for 50% more than what I bought it, why am I being taxed at that rate? That's my problem. Thank you.
Might be out of order. Is it for Timothy? Nope, that's not me.
So the problem that we have is that we shouldn't even be having this meeting because somebody did something wrong. Somebody's got to fix the budget. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here wasting your time, wasting our time. You know, I don't know about this 10, 12, double-digit stuff. Where I work, we got a -2% increase, or a decrease, because the government pays most of our services. Anyway, you did it wrong, so that's why we're here, which is just a formality, not any use, and I don't get it. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are nothing burgers. They are nobody. They are no mouthpieces. That's all they are. They cannot do anything. They will not make any changes. I have lived in my house for 41 years. 2 of my children were born in my home. And I have had to cancel my homeowner's insurance in order to pay the damn taxes that they bring up every year. I am tired of the taxes. I am getting to the point where I'm not going to have a choice but to sell my home of over 40 years because somebody doesn't know how to balance a damn checkbook. I mean, let's be real. It comes down to getting an accounting person to actually do the budget. Stop playing with people's lives. People are on the verge of losing their homes because of stupid crap like this. And they've already voted on it. They've already approved it. They're just going to have a little BS thing on Tuesday, and they're going to tell everybody it was okay, and no one complained. You watch and mark my words, they're going to say no one complained.
Hello, my name's Timothy Millard. I'm supposed to keep this to the increase of budget and property tax ask. I'd say $18 million is a substantial amount of money for a pipeline in an entertainment district. I thought this was going to be for the demolished old town structures. Instead, it's for Highway 34. I look forward to hearing more about that project. It sounds pretty neat. I do appreciate that some parks will see some restrooms and more, and I like parks, Mr. Hike. Parks were a major driving factor of where to live here in Bellevue. My local park and College Heights are among the 8 planned for removal or decommissioned. In the meantime, I do appreciate the planned upgrades for my family at College Heights and other places.
I'm pretty disappointed tonight. There's a pretty obvious lack of preparedness on this event. Everything from the flyers sent out to the flag to your presentation, Mr. Mayor of Bellevue. You come here tonight and you tell us that our input doesn't matter. It's too late. It might be for this vote. I hope there's a big turnout next Tuesday night. I'd like to say that my vote later will matter. I don't know if it will. I hope everybody else considers their vote in the future as well. My message to you guys, you need to cut your budget. These increases are ridiculous. Government needs to be smaller. Let us take care of ourselves. Don't steal from us. That's all I've got.
So good evening, everyone. I got to piggyback on what was already said about this is completely pointless being out here tonight. But I do love a good public shaming of our disinterested Bellevue City bureaucrats. So there's that. So I'm going to keep piggybacking here. Kyle and others already said the 42% increase in the budget is absolutely obscene. No questions about that. I was curious, though, so when I looked online, I did not see any detailed budget. I simply saw what we were presented to tonight, the overview of probably what was cherry-picked that they want us to see. I'm very curious to see how we get to a $250,000 park bathroom. Can't wait to see that, and I think we need those details. But these lead to a lot of hard questions we need to ask ourselves. So are all of these capital improvement projects and infrastructure projects, do they really cost this much? But I think it's more important to say, are they in the interest of the city of Bellevue? Are they in the interest of certain local Bellevue real estate developers? So, as far as the budget, I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers on how to solve the budget, but I have some ideas. I know certainly city administration should spend more time looking at how to balance the budget, how to cut costs, instead of using their public email to send emails to people's employers to try to get them to shut up because of their bruised egos. So the other thing I'd like to just say is it's too late now. All these capital projects, all these infrastructure projects should have been left to a more competent administration. We cannot fix that now. Unfortunately, we've seen the results of what happened with the FastWire project and how that was handled. But we can fix this in the next election cycle. Get this administration out. Let's get this done right. That's on us.
Hi, my name is Allie, and I want to thank all of you for being here because you want to, not because you are required by statute to be here. I am deeply invested in Bellevue. I graduated from this high school right here in that gym just down the hall. I care a lot about this community, and I think we all can agree Bellevue does need significant investment in our city. It is failing, and it has been for a long time. But we need that money to be spent wisely, and we need it to be spent by someone who understands how to manage a project. The last time I was able to talk with our mayor was when he was standing in my front yard bragging about the easement he sold to FastWire. Since then, it's been silence. We need a government that is paid by that listens to the people who pay them, not the other way around. Remember that come election.
Aaron Beltz, Gerald Stidham, Joseph Mock, David Leidick, Dawn Dennis, Megan Curran, Sean Green, Natalie Bachanova, Andrea Lane.
Well, for all the people who are going to lose their houses, we got a real estate agent. He'll do good at it, I bet. Mr. Hike, you're done doing your crosswords there. I'd like to say Bellevue likes their openness. We don't want the big apartments. We don't want the big fancy Olympic pool. Veterans, as you said, veterans ain't going swimming. Why are you raising our taxes so damn much? What did we do? We like it here. We like the open spaces. Yeah, more too. Where is it? Well, here, I'll just read this. Good evening, Sarpy County rulers. Tax increase affects everyone, including yourselves. How are we supposed to manage this? We've had many tax increases in the last 2 years. And now you're going to do it again? I currently pay more in escrow than my house payment. What have we gained from this extortion, sir? Like our school students don't know how to read and write properly, even though Bellevue is doing pretty well. Got to give them that. They've added pleas to, arrest people for minor incidents. The crime rate's still up. But, we can afford that. The complexes, so they're going to have fewer single-family homes and to have people live in expensive communes. God damn it, I can't read. We have a community college that offers two-year trade degrees at a 4-year cost, and they don't even come out knowing what they're doing after they get that 4-year degree. County man, can we borrow your prosecutor? Can we borrow your prosecutor? We the people, maybe? We want to borrow your prosecutor for Tuesday? Oh, you're doing a fine job. You did really well up there. I appreciate it. School lady, I think you did well too, but I think you have enough money. Charter schools is a wonderful idea. You're going to lose more, so tighten up. City of Gretna, sorry you have to hear all this. You're just a watcher. Thank you.
Gerald Stidham. Joseph Mock.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Mock. I live on 110 West 18th Avenue. I say this because I am the victim of a property scheme that is akin to insider trading, run by Mayor Rusty Hike. I was blighted, and now my property taxes are continuing to increase. But, you know, that's not why I'm here. I propose possibly, maybe, considering that this is a waste of our time, that we have the next meeting, that's the important one, put on the letter. Maybe, just a thought, just a thought. Secondly, this is really important. You know, all this money, we have to have received a lot of loans. So we actually got this cool flyer in the mail that said, at least just in Bellevue City, the debt service is 24% of our budget for the city. That was for 2022. What is it next year? Almost certainly higher. So that's not good. Just a thought, you know, don't follow modern monetary theory where all our money eventually just goes into interest and then we can't really afford to do anything. Just a thought. And lastly, why are we building up on the floodplain? Let's build all these great extravagant things and then in 10 years they're all gonna get washed away. Great money investment. Thank you, I yield my time.
Good evening. I have one question, and I know you don't answer questions, but my question is, why can't we ask questions? I've lived in Bellevue 45 years plus. I'm a retired pastor. I'm retired. I bought my house in Old Town 44 years ago. It needed a lot of work, obviously. I paid $35,000 for it, and I've invested in it, my time and money. I've built onto it some. It's valued now at $235,000. I know my investment's for my own benefit to some degree, but it's also for the benefit of the community. The property looks much better, at least I think so. And then I'm given a thing of, Mayor, with all due respect, I voted for you too, but 42%? 42%. I can't help but think when you wrote that down, it wouldn't have gone against the grain in some way. I'm just appalled. I thought maybe I shouldn't say anything else because so many others have said it so well, but I'm just greatly disappointed.
Dawn Dennis. Megan Curran.
Hello, I'm Megan Curran. I'm retired military. I've lived here for about 12 years now, and the house that I bought 12 years ago has now increased $150,000. So yeah, my tax bill's been going up, but it's unfortunately not the people on this stage's fault. Where's Danny Pittman? Where's that dude? Why is that not in the state law? Why doesn't he have to account for the reason that everybody here stayed the same with their tax levy and just went, thanks, Danny, for the 14%. Appreciate it. As far as Bellevue's public schools, I have no problem with you. $11,000 per student is way less than what Omaha Public Schools is doing, which is $14,500 per student in Omaha. So Bellevue is only doing $11,000 per student. So they're doing their best, y'all. I got no problem with Bellevue Public Schools. Mayor Hike, 42%. You've heard it all night. That's insane. You need to go back and work that out. I would rather have our sewers fixed before I have a brand new pool. So, thank you very much.
Good evening. I'll address you. I'm 75 years old, a retired Air Force veteran, a former national education and training manager, former budget manager, and I say that to offer my services to this committee. I'm Sean Green. I've lived in Bellevue for 30 years, and I rise in opposition to this increase. Who's responsible for this havoc? Unfortunately, take a look in the mirror, and you'll see 50% of the problem. You voted for these people. You voted for them. Use your vote for candidates that have your best interest. This is someone like you. Most of your representatives are venture capitalists, and I'm going to show you how that affects you. They don't live in your world. They don't earn in your world. They don't get taxed like you. Look at this. Where are we? We're at almost 100% tax, or at least 50% for some. I'm at 68% tax increase for the last 2 years. We're paying federal tax, county, property tax, sales tax, income tax, payroll tax, capital gains tax, vehicle tax. Heck, you can't even die without being taxed. You have an inheritance tax. Children do deserve an education, and they can get one without these increases. But at the same token, their parents deserve a job. Because what's going to happen here that has been happening throughout our country is that we're not a rich area where you can raise taxes and they have enough money to overcome. When they raise the taxes on a property like ours, a community like ours, and they go into deficit as they have, guess who has to pay for it? You're looking at us. So this will have this will put negative impressions, a pressure on our employment and our economy. We're going to have less money to spend, profits will fall, businesses will cut budgets, they'll stop hiring, they'll lay off, investors will pull out, it will reduce incentives to work, for people to want to work, it will reduce savings, the community's GDP growth will slow, and people will be priced, are being priced. I've seen this for a few years now. This community is pricing us out of our homes because they cannot afford the rents. You raise taxes like this, somebody has to raise the rent. Rents. Who does this impact? It impacts the youth, the young military that are supporting this community, the elderly, the fixed income. Hey, let me tell you, these people don't care. They are your capital, your venture capitalists. And how they work, the 1981, the 2017, and the 2010 tax cuts, that's all in their pocket. The way they have adjusted these laws, if you go and read them, they have tax bracket breaks, they manipulated ways whereby they can avoid taxes. This is thievery. That's what it is. Now, I say to you people, look who's governing you. Real estate. You can walk around this place, you see all these signs. What is this about? We're talking about real estate. We have all this real estate going on. We need to form a group, and we need to take our power back. We're so busy fighting these culture wars, they have us blinded. And they're stealing from us. But look at what's happening. All the tax deductions in real estate. You're not going to win ever until we look at this and get it straight. Now, I'll tell you what. Excuse me. I'm old enough to have seen this country grow. I saw when we just had the rich. Then we came with manufacturing, and we built in the industrial complex, cars, machinery. And what do we have now? We're where we are now. But I've watched this, and don't be fooled. Take back your country means we the rich and worthy want our advantages back. We've seen this scenario before, but there isn't time for history. caution, we have to sit down as a group and work this out, a community group to advise these people. Take our power back.
Natalia? Natalia?
Hello, I'm Natalia Bachenkova, and thank you all to all who are working to lower our tax burden. We certainly need it and much appreciate it. But I'm not here to complain about taxes, because we need them. We need our teachers to be paid well. And although I'm glad there was a decrease in the public school budget, I really hope it did not come from the teaching salaries, but hopefully from administrative cuts. Similarly, we need our law enforcement. We need drivable roads, functional sewers, and all that you do to fund them. In fact, I'd vouch for more taxes for public schools, because taxes are not the problem. Property valuation is, and we need predictability. I'm 28, and on a fully funded merit scholarship, not debt. I grew up in a family of 5, living on $20,000. We were never rich, so I know how to handle money. I bought a house here last year because I worked 3 jobs and I saved my merit scholarships until I could afford to pay myself, because like someone, I believe just 2 people ahead of me said, who in the state can afford to rent these days? I could do this because I can predict my income and control my expenses. That's what everybody in this room does. We predict, plan, and control, and that's what you were elected to do. But if you're struggling, I'll volunteer, and it'd be my pleasure. I bought my house because I can predict, control, and plan, but I cannot predict the property value increases, and I have no control over them, and my budget does not increase when a neighbor sells a home. My house was built in '67 and hasn't seen a single renovation since then. My valuation went up 16% this year and more than 20% last year. My insurance shot up by 50%. And clearly my numbers aren't even the extremes. I now pay more than 60% of my income directly to mortgage and escrow. What's it gonna be this year? Is it 70, 80? I still have to pay utilities. I still need gas to get to work. An occasional meal would be nice. And I'm not even dreaming of retirement savings, like so many of the seniors have spoken about. Again, weirdly, I'm not asking for tax cuts. I'm asking for predictability, because with predictability, we can plan and we can make it work. So what I'm asking you to do is do what it takes to cap the annual property valuation increases. You're part of the government system. Work the state system to pass the legislation to restrict valuation increases. Start there, then impress us with the levy cuts. It's easy to cut levies a couple percent when our property valuations shoot up 20+%. It's even easier to increase the budget when someone else pays for it. But that's not why you were elected. No matter how much our property values went up this year, maybe I should make this a question, but did anybody's salary or wages go up as much as their property valuation did? No, I didn't think so. Thank you.
Andrea Lane?
I'm going to come this way because I do want to address everybody here. I want you guys to realize it is not a waste of your time to be here, because knowledge is power. And it sounds like tonight that you've all walked away with a little nougat of something that you maybe didn't know before. And maybe some of that is to become more involved and to be more of a participant rather than just seeing when something finally comes into the mail. I actually live in the city of Gretna, but I'm at Bellevue. I actually went to this high school myself. And so I've been a Sarpy resident. My dad, as well as my husband, is retired military. So one of the things I want to address is I'm happy to state to you that I am a realtor. And one of the things I hear tonight is misinformation. Believe it or not, across the board in Nebraska, property valuations were under-taxed for decades. And while we may not like that, when you go to sell your house, many people go, oh, well, my tax evaluation is this, I should get that for my house. When nobody calls the tax people and says, hey, you're taxing me too low. But the moment they raise it, everybody's upset. And even I have to pay a raise in taxes. And the city of Gretna misspends it primarily within the school district. And we spent millions building a high school that's 20 million times better than the one that I am sitting in that I went to myself. I would say the biggest thing that needs to be focused on for them, for the councils, is to spend those budgets more wisely. I hear about an amphitheater and an entertainment district, but I don't hear about tax credits for our veterans who are taxed out of their homes, who have disabilities and still have to pay these high taxes, when other states that surround us give those veterans a discount that we don't. So what are we doing for our veterans? The veterans don't need an amphitheater. I would also encourage them to look at that projected growth, because it is just that. I hate hearing a council talk about projected growth as if it wasn't something they knew about, because they did. And especially for the city of Gretna to say comments like, we annexed and we doubled. Well, yes, you doubled, and you talked about this for over 7 years. If you can't budget within a 7-year realm, maybe you should have a different career field. One of the things that they should consider to try and help ease that taxation is, if you look within your assessments, everybody's mill levy is different. And they should look at evening the mill levies out more rather than having them high. To give you an example, a group of us today, we're talking about mill levies. I have like a 2.89 mill levy where I live. And I have friends who have a 2.19, so obviously those are different. If we even some of that out, rather than taxing harder in different areas, people will feel like it's a little more even. And again, that runs as to who we've elected. So I hope everybody just takes that little piece of that nugget away and realize that it is important that you were here tonight. You became a little more empowered by learning. Thanks.
Gary Volkmer, Robert Melter, Robert Monaco, Albert Zeckman, Ron Underwood, Jim Hodavy, Tony Colby. So Gary, you're first.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up here this evening, but our opinion here and our voices are not being heard. I held elected office myself, and I can tell you one thing, that every elected politician lives under a cloud, and that cloud is called recall. And if we really seriously don't like what's going on, we can initiate a recall for our elected officials. And it's somebody had mentioned earlier that it's time for a nonviolent revolution, and I agree with that 100%. I live in District 49. I also live in the Gretna School District, and just some comments I want to make there about spending. When I moved to the Gretna School District in 2012, their budget was $42 million and change. In 2022, it was $142 million and change. It had more than tripled. My house taxes have more than doubled since I moved into that Gretna School District. The thing that I'm finding hard to understand is there's no accountability. There is no accountability. The only accountability that we have is the election cycle. And I strongly suggest we all get out and vote the next election cycle. I don't know any discernible methodology that is being used for tax assessments. I've searched, I can't find any. There's none out there that I can see. I went to the assessor's office and they claim that they don't set the levies. Well, maybe they don't set the levies, but they do set the assessments. And so, again, the recall or the election is something we can do. And I don't know if anybody has looked around, and it just blows my mind that our assessments keep going up. When you look through Sarpy County, and you go out to the western part of Sarpy County, there is hundreds of millions of dollars of new construction in homes, businesses, you name it. And why our taxes have to go up, period. They should be going down with that kind of tax roll increase. So again, let's get out and vote this next year, and let's correct this. We, the people, need to take this back.
Robert Melcher.
I'll make this pretty short and sweet. What I've seen tonight was pretty egregious. I've retired military myself here. Got here in 2006. I've got two little ones going through school right now. I got one in high school and one going through elementary. Every single year, the school tax goes up. I'm not saying that you're not doing your job. Please understand that. But every single year, the food gets worse. The list of supplies needed from the parents to provide to the schools gets longer and longer. My middle just got out of the middle school over there at Lewis and Clark, and the facility, they couldn't take showers after workouts and practices and everything else because the piping system was destroyed and broken down. And we're putting in millions of dollars for parks and entertainment. Our focus should be on the schools. If you want people to come and live in this city, you better have a good school district. That's the reason why, like my family, we moved here to Bellevue, because the school district was on point. It's not anymore. It's getting run down. You, Mr. Hike, and a few others ran on the premises of lowering property taxes. That was one of your main points. I voted for you. If something doesn't change, you won't have my vote again, I guarantee it. And I know a lot of people in this place. Our funds need to be shifted back towards the schools, not entertainments, not an apartment building in downtown, Old Town Bellevue, that's not going to support anything. It's not. You're going to overprice those apartments. People are not going to be able to afford to get into them. The funds need to be shifted over to the schools so our kids can have an education, so Bellevue can be the place where people want to raise their families. It needs to be corrected, or the election cycle is going to change everything. Guarantee it.
Robert Monaco.
Good evening. I don't have anything to say really that hasn't been said, but I'm retired and I'm on a fixed income. My evaluation has gone up 11%. Then I hear that my taxes have gone up. I don't understand how that's sustainable on a fixed income. Yeah, I have to spend more and more of my savings to pay taxes. I live within a budget, so I think our government ought to do the same.
Albert Zeckman.
Good evening. A lot of people have taken all my thunder here. But there's a couple of things here on this. This is apparently a law says you have to put this postcard out. What's missing on the postcard are the top 10 politicians that are supporting this. Their names should be on this card. The next thing is, when it comes election time, I have to hear all these politicians saying, I'm going to decrease property taxes. I got this in the mail. And I voted for some of these people too, so now it really hurts. It's very disappointing. I go through this because everybody said these things. Here's one. Increasing taxes in this day and age results in only one thing, and that's failure. We have California to prove it. I mean, they've pretty much set the standard for failure. This tax increase will result in the worst aspects of the leftist state's priorities, infecting us. We are supposed to be away from all of that, but now it's here in our own backyard. And then I built my home, and I don't want the government throwing me out of it. I like living here. I like living in this county. I enjoy it. I have permits out right now to finish off my basement. I want to stay here, but if this kind of assessment's going on, I'm gonna get thrown out, and I don't want to be homeless. Thank you. Our taxes in Nebraska are high enough. We don't need more.
Ron Underwood.
My name's Ron Underwood. I've lived in Bellevue for about 22 years. I retired from the Omaha World Herald and worked up there 17 years. Bellevue's a great town. It's got a lot of great people in it. I love Bellevue. But unfortunately, we're caught in the trap that a lot of people in America are by having politicians that aren't doing the work that the people want them to do. They're doing the work that they want to do. We are going to have to start voting for people that can be trustworthy, that won't go in poor and come out rich, that won't try to fraud you out of your money by making high assessments on your property that you can't pay. People in Bellevue right now are hurting. I would say there's families that don't have enough food to eat. Even their children, they come to school, they're hungry. They don't get enough food to eat. Why? Because they have to pay this other stuff. And you can't keep paying property that keeps going up in value and you keep losing money on it. We're just going to have to really pay attention to who we vote for and if they're honest or not. You know, a lot of these politicians, they say, I'm going to take care of your property value. When I get down to Lincoln or get in the city council, wherever it is, you know, they say, we're going to take care of your property value and cut your property taxes. But how many of them ever do? It's just a big lie to get into office. Then when they get in there, they're not the person that they was when they were running. They're completely opposite. Our country right now is upside down, from Washington on down. We have people that lie to us. They won't do the work that the taxpayer wants them to do. And all they do is go in there and try to grab whatever kind of money they can get. And there's too many corrupt people in politics. And we have to pay more of attention to who we're voting for and make sure they're honest and somebody that's trustworthy. that you can trust in. Because there's so many in this world now today that you can't trust them. And you don't know what they're going to do. And our country is losing a lot of things right now. Our government is letting illegal people in the southern border. And we can't stand for that. That cost is going to come back on us. Stuff like that. We need people to be honest and trustworthy. And right now, we're at where we're at, but we're going to have to work through what we're going through right now, because we're all going through it, and it's hurting a lot of people. And I just hope that, everybody can make it through this terrible time we're living in right now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jim Hodavi, Gretna, Nebraska. My wife and I lived in our house since 2014. When we moved in, yeah, the taxes were below the value. That quickly caught up, surpassed that long time ago. Our taxes are now 80% higher than what they were when we first moved in. I don't even want to think what's going to be like in another 10 years. They've never passed a bond and returned it to the people. Not anything has ever been returned. Tax increases will never stop. Our home values will just keep going up higher and higher and higher till we're in the situation that so many people are in now. My wife and I are set to retire here in a couple of years. We're not going to be able to afford to stay here. We're at a spot where we're seriously considering selling this home that we've lived in for the last 10 years, been preparing everything we can do to retire, and now we're not going to be able to. We're going to have to, because of the taxes and nothing else, we're seriously considering moving out of the county, possibly out of Nebraska, which tears my heart out. But you can't do it. You can't keep doing it. And when they're spending money, they don't do it wisely. We have in Gretna at Highway 6 and Bryan Street, they just built Fairway. There's a Casey's, there's a Pepper Jack's, there's an auto parts store, and then you got 6 lanes of traffic. They didn't even think to put in a crosswalk with this. You have 11 seconds of a green light to cross 6 lanes of traffic to get from the neighborhood to all those stores right across the street. There's nothing within blocks in any other direction. They just don't, they just, everywhere that you look, you think, they put a fire hydrant right before these turnstiles. If you miss that turn to go into these roundabouts, you're going to hit the fire hydrant. And it's nowhere near a home, so it's not, that's another topic. They're just not spending it good enough. We need accountability. We need it spent properly. We need to hold the businesses. They should be required to put in sidewalks. In Gretna, they just built that wonderful park out there, just had the grand opening out there. You have to drive to it. This is a time when they're talking about, getting rid of the gas. You have to load up your bicycle if you want to go anywhere in Gretna on a bike and go someplace. There's no bike paths whatsoever in Gretna. There's some throughout the state that aren't bad, but just all those things, it seems like they're not putting any forethought into what they're doing. All this money they're taking, it's not going into the roads. The roads are all crap everywhere you drive. Doesn't matter what city, county, state. Iowa wasn't so bad on that trip, but there's just trouble. So you need to spend it wisely and quit increasing the taxes. I don't want to move right now. I don't know if we have a choice but to move. Thank you.
Tony Colby.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Tony Colby I'm in Bellevue, North Bellevue, so I'm stuck with OPS. Let's start with what you guys talked about, Mayor Rusty Hike. Not to bash on you or anything like that. You're talking is that 7 million or 7 billion that was up there for the infrastructure for Highway 34? You're talking all that money for 34. We only got, 5 miles to 34 before you hit the city of Papillion? 5 or 6 miles of 34 from the river to when city limits to Bellevue end. All that money for that, is that all infrastructure for industrial stuff in the flood zone, or is that just from the hill, up on the hill by 75 that you were talking about? That's a lot of money. Also, get back my notes here. We've known about 34 for 20 years now, right? Why haven't you planned ahead? I know you've only been in 5 years. Why hasn't the city of Bellevue planned ahead and started banking money years ago in preparation for that? That same goes for the infrastructure as far as you're talking about the sewers and everything that are 20 years past being replaced. Why hasn't the city of Bellevue planned for this and done a little bit at a time each time instead of trying to do it all at once and take all that money from us? And as far as the schools go, obviously I'm in the OPS side of Omaha, or Bellevue. What is the city doing about the school districts? You have 3 school districts in the city of Bellevue. You have Papillion, you have Bellevue, and you have OPS. I know years ago before you were mayor, there was a big lawsuit between Papillion and Bellevue, and then the whole thing went up in smoke, and we spent hundreds of millions of dollars in lawyers and got nothing out of it. But what is the city of Bellevue doing to take care of the kids? Get them out of OPS and get them into Bellevue schools. You have 5 or 6 schools on the north side that are all OPS. Why hasn't Bellevue looked at making a deal with OPS to take those over, even though they just built a brand new one down there on Old 75? We need to look at that and get OPS out of Bellevue. What else? Let me make sure I get everything here. And as far as all this infrastructure you want to do, all these contractors that you hire to do all this city work, Fastwire comes in, people come in, MUD comes in. Why isn't the city of Bellevue holding them to a high safety standard? You have Fastwire coming in, doing this work, shoddy work. They don't care about the public. They work in the streets, nothing to protect them or the public, right? You put contractors on a road, they need to close the road or have plenty of barriers up for safety, for their safety and the public safety. I come home one day after work to find out there's lines laying in the road from the power lines. I don't know if it's cable or live wires, and there's just nobody around. The road wasn't blocked off. You got lines laying in the roads. You need to hold contractors to the minimum safety standard, which is OSHA, DOT and OSHA. That's minimum safety standards. You need to hold them to that for them to work for the city. If they're going to work for the city and they're going to pay them good money, you need to hold them to that standard. So, all right, I'm up. Thank you for putting up with me. Take care.
Karina McHugh, Robert Volz, Charles Donovan, Ken Coho, Joshua Raymer, Brian Hansen, Kelsey Cordes. Karina? Karina McHugh. Robert Volz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Volz. I live in Gretna, but outside the city limits of Gretna. And just to get ready for this meeting, I went back and looked at my last 3 tax bills. And if that won't get your blood pressure up, nothing will. Because what I found is from in 2021, my taxes increased by 14.3%. 22, they went up by 11.2%. And then now for 23, it's proposed at 14.7% increase. That's a 40% increase in 3 years. That's not sustainable. I don't know how you can expect people to continue to live and work and thrive if you're taking that much revenue from them. And then the other thing I looked at is, where is my property tax money going? I'm sure it's a little different from each one of you, which political subdivision you're part of. But for me in Gretna, 75% of my taxes, property taxes, are going to the Gretna Public Schools. Did you see them here tonight? No, they didn't even bother to show up. So there's no accountability. I get to vote in the bond issues, but I get no chance to influence how that 75%
of my money is being spent because it's through the Gretna Public Schools. According to the 2022 Nebraska Department of Revenue, Sarpy County has the second highest property taxes in the state. The only thing higher is Douglas County. They're 3% higher than ours are in 2022. But Sarpy counties are 26% higher than the average in Nebraska. So that's what's going on in terms of what are we paying versus others in the state of Nebraska. When I looked at the Sarpy County presentation, maybe I got this wrong, but I think your slide said that the Sarpy County total operating budget will be lower by 6% this coming year. But yet, the property values are going up by 14.6%, and the mill rate, the levy rate's not changing. So somehow, how do you decrease your budget, but yet you collect another 14.6% hike in revenue? That doesn't add up to me. Maybe I got the numbers wrong, but I don't understand that. And I don't understand how we can continue to be taxed at these increasing rates and be able to call this a great place to live. And the other thing is, where is the accountability on it? I think no one's wasting their time by coming to this meeting. I've been disappointed in the responsiveness of the different government entities I dealt with. Last year near me in the city of Gretna, there was basically a developer came in for a building permit to change the zoning for a new subdivision right next to me. And the planning committee had to modify it. They lowered the density. And then we had a hearing, and the public planning committee recommended that this zoning change not be approved. So while I was driving to the public meeting for the city council vote on it, I noticed scrapers were already showing up on the site, even though the zoning hadn't been changed. And sure enough, even though the planning committee recommended to not approve this zoning change as it was proposed, the city council approved it. So all I'd say is, if you want to see a change, the only way it's going to happen, you, your neighbors, all your friends need to get involved. You need to honk your horn at the government meetings, and you need to let them know how you think. Thanks, everyone.
Charles Donovan. Ken Cohope. Come on down.
That's why you're here. Look, everybody's here for a reason. You want to have some money so you can do things. All right? I want to have money to do things too. The city, the county, the state needs to find better ways to get it done. They need to do things to make their jobs work for us. Our involvement is not just handing over money to the government. We're all responsible for what's happening with these people. I have nothing against any one of these individuals. Nobody's born to be a governor or a mayor, okay? It's what they do when they get in office. It's how they act, how they respond. Look at what they do. Some of these people, I'm not saying these people are involved in this, but some of these people tell you one thing, do the opposite. Governor candidates, we're going to do everything to reduce your property taxes. You deserve it. They send you a check for $160. The next year, you're paying $300 more. Where's the trade-off? Where the hell is the trade-off? Performing jobs for the government is an important job. People get in there. I'm responsible for ignoring my duty as a citizen, for not following what goes on. We all have that responsibility. Right here, I'm looking at infrastructure things. Does anybody know where Hay Springs Public Schools in Sheridan County would be? Does anybody know? Well, the federal government does, because they give an infrastructure check for $300,000. Oh yeah, they applied for it and they got it. Bellevue, on the other hand, applied for bridge improvement program. They got $440,000. Now let's look at North Platte here. North Platte got a check for a company called Sustainable Beef. I haven't Googled it yet, but I'd be interested to see who owns that. Because they got a check for $20 million. Private enterprise for infrastructure. These are infrastructure checks. Hitchcock County, $6 million and it's $7 million basically for the Culbertson South Highway project. Why isn't Bellevue getting these $1 million checks for infrastructure improvements? There's one on here. Let's see. I have a little bit hard time reading this. Hang on for a second. It's for right here. Hershey Public Schools in Lincoln County. They get $395,000 from the federal government through their infrastructure program for what? Bus improvements. Bus improvements for these guys. They're getting better buses. They probably need them because there's not that many people out there paying taxes. We can look at this. Omaha got $500,000. Or, no, I'm sorry. That's $500 million. They have to build a trolley. How many people are going to ride the trolley? This is what we're talking about when we're talking about politicians doing stuff with our money. We vote for people because we trust them. We've heard that. I don't know anything about these people. I'm not following them, writing down everything they do. I know they have accountability. I know that these people are good people. All of them are. I have nothing against them. People talk about the schools. Bellevue's got great schools. My time is up. Do you guys want to hear any more?
Got other people who want to talk.
Do you want to let me talk for a minute, just another minute? All right, Bellevue's got great schools. I hear people talking about schools and the money that they get. Schools have things like electronics they have to replace every so often because they get outdated so quick. They have a lot of school buses in Bellevue that they have to buy fuel for. These are the things that cost money, and the people that work for the schools need raises. They have to hire people, and they can't hire people for the old wages. They have to keep increasing the wages, and it's hard to keep up with this. This is where the money is going. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know, you got a lot of other people who have
they got
been
2 or 3
to
more.
talk. No, I have almost 10.
I'm gonna just say one thing. This is disrespectful to everybody in here, putting us down here lower than our elected candidates. Sorry, but I'm being cut off. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad everybody here had an opportunity to listen to the people that have spoke. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joshua Raymer.
Hi, I just want to say I agree with this guy. I do not like being lower than these guys. But I've been here for about 10 years now, and one thing I've noticed is that the Nebraska elected officials, they love to preach about property tax relief, but they actually do the opposite. I've realized that the assessment is just a way of raising your taxes without actually raising your taxes, okay? The housing market is coming down, and wages are not keeping up with inflation, and times are very tough right now. And I just want to know how you guys justify a $42,000 increase on an assessment. That's ridiculous. My wife and I, we want to have kids, but we are struggling with just the two of us right now, and these taxes are making things way worse. We're considering moving back to Iowa, where property taxes are much cheaper, and you can count on losing 2 more citizens. Just to piggyback off of what many people have said already, is Bellevue is wasting money left and right on many things, and they need to manage their money a lot better. $1 million for a bathroom? Come on. These projects are just out of control. One I've noticed in Sarpy County personally is the jail in Papillion. They built a brand new jail. Where at, you may ask? Right next to the old jail. You know what they're doing with the old jail? They're turning it into a parking lot. Seems like a big waste of money to me. Okay? This country was founded, revolution, on high taxes. Okay? If our founding fathers were here today and saw what we are letting our officials tax us at today, they would be disgusted. This is ridiculous, and I'm no way advocating for a violent revolution, but I am advocating to vote these people out of office, okay? Rusty, I voted for you last time around, but this time, I am not. 42% is inexcusable.
Brian Hansen. Kelsey Cordes.
I don't like public speaking, so looking at you four is a lot less intimidating. I don't want to live in Bellevue, but turns out you can't get a South Omaha boy much further than Bellevue. So with the way taxes are going, if they keep going up, I'll be able to convince him to move out of the city back to Iowa. So thank you, but not really, because we have a lot of family here. We kind of do like it. I just wrote a couple of notes down, Rusty, when you were talking, because there was just a lot that I wanted to think about. These are questions, they're in the format of questions. I know you won't answer them now. Think about them, whether it'll matter for this budget or not, because it sounds like this one is set in stone, but please, okay? Can we pay our current needs with the current income that we have for the city, or however it works? These are needs, not wants. What do we need to operate as a city? Okay, if we can't, why are we adding more to the budget? If we can't pay it, why? If we can, why aren't we paying off our past debts? It sounds like there are millions of dollars worth of debts I didn't vote for, my kids didn't vote for, and their kids are all going to be paying for it. People have been talking like that for decades. We have to balance the budget at some point. Our parents and grandparents overspent on the wants and borrowed on future generations. I don't want to perpetuate that cycle on my kids, and hopefully their kids, if they choose to have any, or if they can afford to have any. Because we had a third kid thinking, oh, this is great, taxes are low right now. Everything went up in the last 2 years, and we're fucked. That third kid, it really made things hard, really hard. Our generation has had it drilled into us that we shouldn't buy that extra cup of coffee so that we can buy a house. That extra cup of coffee is a drop in the bucket when it comes to buying a house, when it comes to the taxes. But if we can't have that minor comfort in life, why are we spending so much on all these things that are comforts that we have to pay extra for? To walk outside of my house and to do extra things, $100 easy for the entire family. We can't afford to do anything. The surveys that we get for water parks, these things, we can't afford to go to those places. I don't remember if there was a question in there about that water park, or like the one in Gretna, that looks amazing. We can't afford to go over there at all. It's not within our budget as a family. These things are unobtainable to people who actually work and live here. The crowd today did not have a lot of parents and young parents represented here. I missed bedtime. I missed an entire day with my kids because I had to come sit here to learn that I'm yelling into the void because you guys have already chosen to spend our money. Yeah, that's the sum of it. Please stop overspending. Look at the budgets that you have and try to balance it. We have to pay off these debts at some point.
Dennis Hill, Michael Schufelt, Ken Iverson, Deanna Perkins, Drew Kaiser, Buzz Stevens. Dennis Hill? Dennis Hill? Michael Schufelt? Ken Iverson?
I guess I just want to address the evaluation process a little bit. I don't live in a very big house. It's only 1,200 feet, but you know, it's in the last 3 cycles, it's went up over $75,000. And, you know, that's over 42% increase. And then the other comment I'd like to make is why do we have budgets for any of these 4 people up here? They know what the evaluations are. They know what the mill levy is. And so why can't a budget be made to live within that budget itself? I think the legislature years ago, when they put the cap on the levy, there's a good reason for it. They knew that we have to live within it, and they felt that the 2-3% cap should be plenty. And so to ask us to dig into our pockets and go beyond that is just irresponsible on their behalf. And if they can't do it, maybe they need to find a different job or find someone else that can stay within that budget. And also, in closing, I just want to thank everyone for showing up. Years ago, I don't remember where it was from, but it said, the world is run by those who show up. And so thank all of you that showed up tonight and keep showing up. Appreciate it.
Deanna Perkins?
Hi, I'm Dina. Hi, Gracie. And my cheerleader back there. So, I'm not a public speaker, so forgive me. This is obviously very charged with emotion. I purchased and moved into my home with the intention that the next move I make is to the cemetery. And so, that's being taken away from me. I have a special needs child up there who the legacy that I seek to leave her is honesty and it's kindness and goodness. But my house was also there to ensure her future, the equity that I have in it, so that she would not be a drain on society, but be provided for in future days. That's not going to be able to happen. And so I would like you, Mr. Hike, to reflect on the fact that we, as homeowners, are your biggest asset. We are the ones that this should all be for. Bellevue, yes, it should grow, but at what expense? Effectively raising these taxes is going to push out the next generation of homeowners. And I can already tell you that the attitude of pride and ownership is not the same with this next generation coming up. And maybe never again will it be like what we had. And so, you know, if you're pushing our homeowners, our purchasers of our homes away, then, you know, what do we have? We have a society of people that are renting, so they don't have to take care of their properties, that they don't care. And that doesn't reflect well on any community. I'm 56 years old, I'm a widow, I'm a single mother, and this is where I want to be, unless it gets too hard, unless it becomes counterproductive for me. I just 2 weeks ago got my job after pursuing and attaining a master's degree. And that wasn't easy. But now what for? So I can pay my taxes on my house? Well, yes, certainly. But why sit and accept that it's going to continue to go up when it doesn't have to? There are other avenues to gain the funds for this. A water park, again, like it was said earlier, a water park is not something I can even afford to take her to. I can't afford the one in Papillion. $40 a ticket? I don't think so. And so your answer to bring a water park in and build one is, in a fantasy world, that's great. But in the world I live in, it's going to bring people that are from other cities. They don't care about what they do, how they use and abuse Bellevue. And maybe it'll make a few dollars, but it's not ultimately going to be a winning factor for Bellevue. And then, of course, those of us that live here, we're not going to be able to afford to go there. And so I was raised that if you don't vote for someone, you don't have any reason or any right to complain. And so here I am. So this is what you got. And so I just want you to understand that we do take this personally. This is my home and my future. And so I ask you not to take it lightly, and I'm sure you haven't. But I don't have the luxury of leaning back on my bank account. Because I can tell you, even if I was 0.5% behind on my bills that you are, I would have them knocking on my door saying, oh, we're going to take your house. We're going to take your vehicle. And there's no repercussion for you because you just get to sit there and yes, you have money, and and I'm not presuming on your funds. But you have to understand that what are you taking away from the people that did have allegiance for you? So.
Drew Kaiser. Buzz Stevens.
My name is Buzz Stevens. I'm part of the Oakhurst area here in Bellevue. I was annexed, Dale, what was it, about 3 years ago? Yeah. I inherited the Bellevue debt. Now, if I had an uncle and he passed away and passed on inheritance to me, oh, happy days. But instead, my inheritance of being annexed was the Bellevue debt. And that's ridiculous. Now, whose fault is it? It ain't their fault. As you can tell, I'm not even looking at this.
my home paid off, right? And I'm worried, and this goes to you, because, I mean, my property taxes, they're going to the roof, and I don't understand how valuations go. Now, I'm worried for all the senior citizens. I'm a senior citizen, I'm 58, but the senior citizens that apply for homestead, and I believe that $195,000 is the maximum value of the house so you can apply for homestead. So most houses, even here in Old Town, that they were probably $70,000, they're right now $200,000 and more. Senior citizens are not gonna be able to have that tax break that they deserve. Exactly. Now, Mr. Hike, I voted for you, and I have never had voter's remorse, but I feel it a little bit right now. And more than anything is because I am very conscientious of my budget. I'm a single mother with a set of twins. They're 23 years, but they're still living at home. They help me out, yes, but this is unbearable. I mean, I work for the schools. You guys know it. We don't make a lot of money. And then again, there's a lot of expense, within the schools, and waste too. Same in the cities, same in the states, same in the whole damn country, for that matter. And I am worried that, I mean, I like some of your, things that you're bringing as a businessman and as a developer and all that. But like some of the young parents, they said, it's like, I cannot afford to go to the water park. Now you're planning an entertainment industry area. Who's gonna go there if we don't have the money to entertain ourselves? Nobody's gonna be there. We're not gonna bring other people from other cities to enjoy that big expense that costs to the taxpayers. I mean, we need to do something. Really, we need to do something. Another thing with the city is, it pains me. I live pretty close to one of the newest splash pads, the one in, what is it called? Was behind my house, behind my house. 12 hours of running water. I have no idea. I want to, do some exploration and see how much that huge bucket that is filling like nothing. And sometimes there's only one kid there. And thousands of, gallons of water wasted. 12 hours. 12 hours for how many months? Believe me, I tell my kids, you're not in that room, turn off the light. We don't wash our cars. My lawn look, I take pride on my house. But this year, with, all the heat that we had, I barely, water my lawn. So, I mean, those are the things that we as a homeowners and, we do our budget. The city needs to do the same thing. It's like, we voted for you. Now, for all of us, what is it that we need to do? Tuesday, they're gonna vote. And probably like somebody says, they already made up their minds and it's a done deal. Well, let's stand sorry for my accent. Well, I'm very proud of my accent, but sometimes, Anyway, let's bombard all our city council people, and maybe one or two, they can back down and say, you know what? I had a lot of push from my constituents, and I'm voting no. Let's try it. Let's try it. I'm gonna be there on Tuesday, and I expect all of you to make phone calls. And I'm pretty, very sorry that the majority of people already left. Like we said, senior citizens, they go to sleep, very early. But anyway, thank you for giving me the time.
All right, I wanted to thank Bellevue Public Schools once again for allowing us to use their space, as well as the presenters and our audience and all of our speakers. We appreciate you guys being respectful and civil towards each other. I do also want to thank Bellevue Police Department. I didn't include them earlier in my speech. With no further comments from our citizens, the time is now 9:28. And I formally declare that this Sarpy County Joint Public Hearing is now closed.